Today's City News segment follows one organization's journey in honoring and preserving our city's African American history and heritage. People Helping Others Excel by Example, a nonprofit known by the acronym of P.H.O.E.B.E, began in 1997 as the Uzuri Project, a temporary Black history project about African Americans in the Hot Springs community. Today, the Uzuri Project has grown to more than 1,500 donated photographs, artifacts, and documents in need of permanent display space, as the work continues of researching, documenting, recording, lecturing, interpreting, and writing books about the Black history of Hot Springs. In the meantime, as the parent organization, P.H.O.E.B.E has grown to include a Youth Leadership Institute and other projects. All these activities led to the recent donation of the historic but deteriorated John L. Webb House, located in the Pleasant Street Historic District off of Malvern Avenue, as P.H.O.E.Be's new headquarters. This area is very significant to our city as the largest African American historical district in the state of Arkansas. As you can see from these photos, while the house needs a lot of work, much has already been done. Most notable are roof, window, and front door replacement, and repairs are ongoing as funds are available. The City of Hot Springs has worked closely with P.H.O.E.B.E in whatever way they can to aid them in their mission to bring this historical treasure back to life. There's much more to this story than the time we have today, but at the end of this segment we'll tell you where you can find out more online. Today we're focusing on the John L. Webb House, which is directly behind us, and its relationship to the historic Pleasant Street neighborhood. With me today are Cheryl Batts, who is the president and founder of P.H.O.E.B.E, the Uzuri Project, as well as Rick Stauder, who is the planning manager for the Hot Springs Planning and Development Department. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
I'd like to start with you, Cheryl, and ask you, who was John L. Webb, and why is it so important to restore and rehabilitate his home behind us?
Well, I guess I could use certain words. I could say that he was a great philanthropist. I could say that he was a very well-known contractor, not just in Hot Springs, but across the country for the work that he did. And the fact that he was born in 1877 puts him directly in that area of our time of segregation, where people pushed to really lift themselves up by their bootstraps to be somebody. The thing that people don't realize about him, not only did he pick cotton to work his way through school, but he was a stutterer. But when you talk with the students way back in the day, as they said, that went to Langston High School, that heard him speak, he was prolific. I mean, he just spoke so well, and you could not tell that he actually had a stutter. But in his ability to travel around during that time, he met a lot of people like Julian Rosenwald of the Rosenwald schools. He met Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune and went on a 1927 European trip with her. We also found that he actually constructed most of the buildings on Tuskegee Institute campus, which is where he went to school. And recently, you know, we had our Windows workshop with Bob Yap. Well, we're talking about the building, and Bob Yap tells us that he's going back to Tuskegee to work on those wooden buildings that Mr. Webb built. So I'm saying in essence that even though people think that, well, what else has he done? We would be all day with me telling you, but I can say that he took over the Woodmen of Union Fraternal Order when it was in Mississippi and brought it here to Hot Springs. And when he first got that leadership position, they were in trouble going downhill. He had one chapter. By the time he had been with them for 2 years, he had 17 chapters across the United States, including Haiti. Now, who knows about Haiti during the 1927s, you know what I'm saying, for African American people? So he was quite an entrepreneur, but he was truthful, he was honest. Wherever he went, people wanted to be around him. He was the founder of the National Laymen's Movement in 1924, and they still celebrate him today. He belonged to Roanoke Baptist Church. Most of the houses in Pleasant Street can be directly connected to his ability as a contractor. He built for his daughter, Emma Elise, the Emma Elise Webb Community Center, and he did that during 1945 so that Negro children would have a place to go and have a great time. And most people don't realize it, but his wife was independently wealthy. So she's the one that actually gave the money for the Webb Center to be built, but he was, of course, the contractor for that. So with those things, I think you'll find that Mr. Webb helped with the Carroll County Training School. In 1919, he was honored deacon for the Finance Board. In 1922, he was at Roanoke Baptist Church till he died in 1947. That shows longevity. The Arkansas State Fair Memorial Exhibit, gave the largest contribution to that, and that was to honor the World War I soldiers, black soldiers, when they came home. He was the starter of an insurance organization. They started with, I believe, $200,000, and within 3 months, they had over $2 million in stocks that had been sold. So with that small world of African American movers and shakers, you name him, he probably knew them. That's why we need to save this house. We are more than sure that Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, Jane Rosenthal, all prominent African American doctors must have walked these halls. And if they could talk, hopefully we'll get them to talk someday.
And how did this house come to be in the hands of P.H.O.E.B.E?
Well, it was I tell you, it was a wonderful thing, because P.H.O.E.B.E is very small, probably one of the smallest nonprofits in the community. A young lady named Patricia Perrin followed our history, and she had bought the house, and she knew it was beautiful, but she knew no history on it. And so I found out from Rick who she was, got her address, sent her one of our books, and she was just flabbergasted. She called me and she said, well, what can we do with this house? And I said, well, first of all, we probably need to put it on Arkansas's Most Endangered. And that's where we clicked. She saw the work that we could do in filling out the paperwork and everything. So we put it on there. And I'm telling you, it was not a year later she decided, I want to be a grandma. Do you want this house? And I was like, what? So she gave us the house. We didn't have to pay anything. But I believe that it was the integrity and the excellence that we really pushed so hard to have as a small nonprofit. You know, you don't have a lot of money, but if you have integrity. And I believe she saw that, and she felt like we could do this. And with the help of our friends, we're doing it.
And you've gotten a lot done. What is the current status of the structure after a number of improvements have been made?
Well, right now we have a wonderful roof, a $90,000 roof that was put together by an organization in Benton, Kugel organization, but the Department of Heritage and their Historic Preservation program granted us the money to get that done. And then, of course, the windows in the building were done by monies from our own CDBG funding, and we're very excited about that. We've got them all done. We're about, I say, 95% done. We have some specialty windows in the back that are on order, and once those are done, all the windows will be done. And the other work was done by people who made donations, government agencies and private donations to get the house in the way you're looking at it right now.
Now, of course, you've mentioned already that this is a contributing structure. So, Rick, can you roughly define the Pleasant Street Historic District?
Certainly. The Pleasant Street Historic District is comprised of approximately 8 city blocks here in the heart of our city. The streets, if I had to give you a rough boundary of the exact location, would be Malvern Avenue, Gulpha Street, Cottage, Church, Pleasant, Grove, Garden, Shiloh, and Kirk Streets.
And you can see the map on our screen that defines
Yes.
that area. Now, what is the definition of a contributing structure, and about how many currently exist in this area?
Sure. A contributing structure is a structure that retains the majority of its original historic fabric, meaning that it hasn't had insignificant or inappropriate alterations done to it. and basically it still tells the story of its original construction. Pleasant Street is full of contributing structures. We approximate 65 structures currently are contributing within the boundaries of the Pleasant Street Historic District.
Okay, well, let's go on, Rick, to the fact that you worked closely with Cheryl for improvements that were funded through the CDBG program, the Community Development Block Grant Program.
Correct.
Can you detail some of those improvements?
Well, just like Cheryl mentioned, about $51,000 has been used in CDBG funding to assist with, well, really to fund the window restoration project. I believe some of those funds actually helped do the door assembly also to the structure. So we're very pleased that we were able to help out with the restoration of this project with CDBG funding.
And that, of course, is just one funding source. So Cheryl, can you tell us about some of the other funding sources and also next steps for the building?
Okay, well, they can all expect that we'll be back. It'll be CBDG, our own hometown. We will. Our application is already in. We definitely received a letter from Department of Heritage and the Historic Preservation program that they're very pleased with the work that we've done. So we are definitely going to be applying there again. And who knows if anything that even smells like GIF or government, anything from our own senators and state representatives, we're going to be asking them, as well as the Arkansas Legislative Caucus. We're going to do a fundraiser November 4th where we're inviting all of our friends and family to come out and hear some good singing. It's an evening of gospel music for the soul. So we'll be raising funding through individuals. And this has been consistent through the past 2 years that we've had the house. These particular funding sources, they love what we're doing and they've been giving. So we're excited.
Sounds like you're leaving no stone unturned where
None
funding
whatsoever.
sources are concerned.
None whatsoever, because the next step will be probably, to some people, the most expensive, and that would be the bricks. We have the bricks were done through individual donations on the side that's facing us, but we do have that back side. And most people may not remember, but there was a roof on what we call the porch and the porte-cochere. And we have to reconstruct that. And we also want to make sure that on the far side of the house that we get that foundation in there. We did the foundation on one side. We're going to go back and redo the foundation on the other side of the house. So these are the things that we'll be looking to get funding for coming up.
Excellent. Well, it's been exciting to see this partnership between the city and P.H.O.E.B.E. to move the house as forward as it's come. The pictures tell the story. There's been so much improvement already made. People are gaining in awareness about the project and as well in their excitement about what it's doing for the Pleasant Street neighborhood. So as we said, there's much more to this story. If you'd like to know more or to get involved with this project, there are additional resources that are listed on the screen at the end of this segment. Thank you both for giving us an update on the historic John L. Webb House today.
Thank you.
Terry.
And next week we'll bring you more city news.